welcome to our first panel. My name is Imran Zualkernan. I'm a professor, but I have a lot of experience also in the industry. So today we are really privileged here to have our two guests, Gigi and Salahuddin. And so we're gonna go in a particular order, and the idea is to give you a concrete sense of what does it mean to go through a digital transformation in both of their groups, which are large groups. So hopefully we can get some lessons from it. So first, Gigi, what I would request each one of us, each one of the speakers, panelists, to introduce their businesses, the complexity of the businesses, the geographical location, so we get a sense of how complex your business is before we move on to the digital transformation. And when you are describing your business, also please describe acquisition strategies as you are taking in new companies and how that all works. So we'll start with Gigi. Please go ahead.
Sure. Morning, everyone. It's great to be back in a forum where we are interacting face to face with counterparts. So I'm Gigi Thomas. I'm Group Head of IT for Ittihad International Investments. We are an investment firm investing heavily into manufacturing, trading, medical services, waste management. We have a huge portfolio of companies, 25 entities, and with 9 of these entities into manufacturing, mainly into steel, copper, paper, timber, cement, chemicals, etc. With regards to our digital transformation journey, we started around 4 years back when the group decided that it's time for us to start looking into just beyond financials or what's being reported on that layer. We wanted to start getting involved into what's our operational efficiency. We want to start getting involved into what's our productivity. How is the human resource capital landscape looking? So this triggered a set of initiatives within the group, and with that, I know it was mentioned about it's not all about the destination, but we need to have a reference point of what we want to achieve. With that reference point in mind, we started with a number of initiatives. Digital transformation is not about a technology or a solution, but rather how a combination of these can suffice and contribute to meeting to the needs and the expectations of the business.
Okay.
So we have now successfully completed 80% of our journey with all of our manufacturing companies already transformed, contracting companies on the journey of transformation. Does that
okay,
answer?
yeah, so let's start. So then would you like to explain your businesses? So.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm so happy to be a speaker in this great event and well-organized event. Actually, I'm Salahuddin Almohammadi. I'm the Group IT Manager and Digital Transformation Leader in HSA Group, Hail Said Anam Group. It is a diversified portfolio with different business lines, focusing on manufacturing, especially FMCG, also services like insurance, banking, in addition to logistics. The number of companies under the group, more than 100, in different geographical areas, in UAE, in Saudi, in Egypt, in UK, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and also in Yemen. My role currently is building the digital transformation strategy. But if you allow me, Mr. Imran,
Yes, go ahead, please.
just to give a brief about this buzzword, digital transformation. I read more than 30 books about digital transformation, and I found more than 30 definitions of digital transformation, and it makes some confused why there are many definitions of this concept. All definitions are right, because each approach see to the digital transformation from different angle. Some definitions focus on technology, others on business, others on people, and so on. But after reading this, big number of books, I came up with my own definition. I called it Almohammadi digital transformation definition. And it is good to meet you to improve this definition by, discussion with you. The comprehensive definition of digital transformation is as follows. It is ongoing process by which new technologies are fully embedded with all aspects and functions of business. This is the main definition. And as you see, when I said it is ongoing process, this is confirmed that it is not destination, it is not project, it's journey. It has a start point, but with endless point. New technologies, what I mean by new technologies, I'm talking here about the digital transformation tools, AI, blockchain, cybersecurity, cloud, IoT, and others. But why digital transformation is so important? Because of 4 main reasons. Number 1, to improve process efficiency. Number 2, to increase people effectiveness. Number 3, to add value to business. And last one, to build new future for the organization. And this is why it's called transformation, not a change. Transformation means the future of organization should be different than the current or the past of the organization, because business model change, culture of digital transformation also change the behavior, how to deal with process, with people, with everything. This is an general idea about this, and I have actually very passionate in this area, and I have a plan to author a book on digital transformation, inshallah, in Arabic language, because actually there is no Arabic, books or reference for this concept. But I hope that, inshallah, I will success to achieve this dream.
Okay.
To share with you our strategy in digital transformation, we started our strategy in 2 years back. But we started according to the approach bottom to up. We started from bottom and go up, raised until board of directors. We meet as IT for 2 days and start together to discussion in workshop to build this strategy, answering 3 main questions. Where the group is today, that means in 2019, where the group want to go, and how to fit this gap between today and tomorrow. And we analyze our all systems from different perspective. What ERP we have? What analytic systems we have? Do we have consolidated systems or silos in different areas? And after that, we built our strategy. Now, today, after 2 days, we have the consolidated dashboard for the group, starting with HR departments. From one screen, the CEO can see how many headcounts across whole group, what is their experience, and according to some HR KPIs, he can monitor the activities or performance of the HR. And now the second phase will go to the consolidation of financial dashboard across also whole the group. We are actually have breed of systems like SAP, for HANA, we have Dynamics, HRMS 365, we have also Power BI, and many different systems which are, according to Gartner, are the leader systems as they are used on today. This is a brief.
Okay, all right, great, thank you. So picking up on that, so Gigi, so there's sort of this bottom-up approach, which where the IT guy says, hey, we need to do something, and they kind of start putting things together, and it percolates up to the top. Now, there's also the top-down approach, right, where the executive, the management says, hey, we got to do this, and they kind of push it through from the top. So in your experience, was it a combination of both, and which one do you think is, in your context, was probably more effective as a strategy?
So the vision is always there, and the vision is driven top down.
Okay.
And the adopters of this vision is usually at the ground layers who needs to need to, or they are the biggest benefactors to these changes, which is happening within the organization or within the process or within the systems. So it's a realization of that vision, and it's no more IT per se. It's not an IT project. Digital transformation is not an IT project. Yeah. It's a business initiative where IT itself is a business department driving that along with all the other stakeholders, the departments, the heads, and it's a unified initiative. So the vision is top down, and the biggest challenge, which was covered by my counterpart in the earlier presentation, is the resistance in change management.
Okay.
There are organizations which have been doing things in a certain manner for an incredibly long period of time, especially when you touch base like manufacturing companies.
Yep.
They've been doing this from eons.
Yep.
So for them, they have, and these are individuals who are not so dynamic like in other active industries where people change. Usually these people are here in those roles. So for them, onboarding onto this change without a change management program, without training, without giving that handheld and walking them through could alarm them.
Okay.
So along with the transformation journey, an organization change management initiative, which should go hand in hand. And in our strategy, in our corporation, the strategy that we have taken is we have identified a change management team per entity, which comprises of the GM, the finance manager, the HR manager, and along with the IT representatives from the HQ, and we have what we call as the design authority from HQ.
Okay.
So this sort of team works to help and hold hand in hand with the different departments to help them ease through into this. Because this is a long journey, and it's the initial shock, what scares people, moving from a legacy system or a system that could be severely outdated into something that is automated. Every department in these traditional companies could be operating in silos.
Okay.
And when you move on to a transformation journey, the first thing is breaking of silos. We become networked. Everybody becomes dependent on each other. Everybody fits into a process, into a flow. So a department does not perform, it is going to cascade and impact other departments. So that mindset of getting everybody to really work like a team is the real big win, and then everything starts following.
So the key is essentially change management first, right?
From my
change management from the top, and obviously the IT needs to support the initiative while going into each organization. Okay.
I would have some comments here,
Mr.
Yes. Actually, as Mr. Gigi said, that digital transformation is not IT project. If it's considered as IT project, it will fail. This is the result. And in my definition, if you remember, I said that new technology embedded with all aspects and functions of business. There is digital transformation in HR, there is digital transformation in finance, in logistics, in every functions in the organization. But as Mr. Gigi said, yes, change management, one of the challenge that we face.
In implementation.
And also, I'm happy to share with you our experience how to, challenge or reduce or mitigate challenge of this. We start another initiative called Making Digital Leaders to Lead Digital Transformation by gaining digital skills. Because you see, when you train the peoples and show them the great features in cloud, for example, tools or analytics, or they will be very happy to work with you.
Okay, so
but if you enforce them, please do this, work with this without training, you will have high resistance.
So basically what you're saying is that part of the change management would be to enable your change agents within the organization at various levels, get them tooled, and then let them play with the technology, so they are the ones who will actually move the change forward.
Yes, and also, Mr. Imran, regarding your question, which is best approach, is it bottom up or top down? I think the best one to combine between them.
Combine them, okay.
The vision comes from...
The vision comes from the top, and then the requirements come from the bottom, right? So the other thing that, and I think it's true in both of your cases, So, and I would also like you to comment a little bit on the role of the cloud in this, that you really are dealing with a diverse set of industries, right? You have manufacturing, you have banking, right? And we know from experience that the platforms tend to be somewhat industry specific. So I would like you to comment on what were the challenges you faced there in dealing specifically with the diversity of your companies, and what enabled you to sort of surpass those challenges, and what type of platforms then you ended up with specifically. So, start with this.
So once every organization has identified its strategy and that's aligned with a digital strategy, there are expectations. Now for us, we had expectations where we wanted to have web-based systems. We wanted to have mobility. We wanted to be able to have the flexibility of approvals and workflows on the go. Okay. So based on these, the organization identifies the subset of platforms which it wants to roll out. Now in our case, we have rolled out SAP.
Okay.
Now this brings the next topic relevant to the question which you asked, that you have organizations which could be classified as niche. When it comes to manufacturing companies, yes, they could be having their own manufacturing execution systems. When yes, it comes to contracting companies in this region, they are heavily with the Primavera and their own project-based
yes,
systems. Yes. When if it's medical, they have their own systems. Or there could be government regulations and mandates where the organizations should log into their portals and ensure. So how do we benefit this? This opens up the wonderful and complex world of integrations which come into play.
Okay.
Again, there are different kind of integrations, but on a cloud perspective, with today's modern day solutions, we have ample connectors in place. Most of these solutions are taking into the regulation perspectives in place. And as IT or the digital transformation the leaders, our focus is no more on just on the physical or the infrastructure aspect. We are now looking at, yes, there is problems. How do we address and streamline these problems through the solutions that we have? So we have, in our case, various integrations that we have rolled out, and what is very key here to achieve a successful marriage between these systems is to have a very well-defined cloud governance framework.
Okay.
So this could be part of your infrastructure in your cloud. This has to be with the data which you're going to put into cloud. And all of these factors need to be taken into this framework, and especially for group and holding companies who are looking at standardizing policies, who are looking at standardizing master data, who are looking in those elements, that this framework is essential.
So just to, and before we go to Mr. Salahuddin, so in terms of the cloud strategy, so you have public, private, I mean, what is your sort of strategy in terms of how you are, where you're keeping your data, and just to mitigate the risks and so on?
Sure. Now, we are purely a multi-cloud environment. Okay. Depending on the different solutions we have a combination of public, private, and hybrid. And all of this coexisting in our multi-cloud environment with various solutions.
Multi-cloud.
Yeah. So, and then we are bound to be abiding by the regulations because we are an investment firm. So these exactly, we have to follow the data regulations. Yes. And then everybody has to talk about business continuity as well. Yes. Now, it's no more systems which is sitting in a room that's just next to the IT department.
Yeah, so we'll come to those issues. So, Mr. Salahuddin, go ahead, please.
Yeah, surely there is, big similarity between the two groups. Yes. Also, in HSA, we have best of breed systems. Okay. Our main financial system is SAP.
SAP, okay.
SAP for HANA. Mm-hmm. We upgraded it last year. In addition to Dynamics 365 F&O. Okay. And Dynamics 365 CRM. Okay. And also we are using Power BI as analytic tool. Okay. In addition to the, today also we have IoT project in Saudi, one company in Saudi. We have some systems still in-prem, but most of the systems are on cloud. We do move from ground to cloud. Okay. And actually there is many good things that we gain from moving from ground to cloud: reduce cost, focus on business instead of issues of IT. You are up to date because this is responsibility of the vendors, not of the IT.
Yep.
I think now this is the trend. And as I remember, the cost reduction for moving from ground to cloud is around 60%.
60%.
Huge,
Okay.
saving.
Let me just shift a little bit from implementation and talk about some of the, and one thing you did mention, so we'll start with you. So if you look at sort of the landscape today, the three words that we see as the future is the AI, the blockchain, and the IoT, right? At least those three. So IoT project, you already talked about that you are starting one. So if you could tell us a little bit about it, and in your opinion, how pervasive potentially that can be. And then, for example, we have AWS has a very nice IoT scenario on the cloud. So what type of technologies are you going for in your IoT implementation? And then we can also talk about blockchain and AI, but we could start with IoT.
Okay, let me talk about cloud and AI, IoT. You see, this also word cloud makes them confused.
Yes.
What do you mean about that? Our system in cloud.
Okay.
Actually, it means that you access the remote server through the internet.
Yeah.
And because of this, it's called cloud.
Yes.
As I told you, this is reduce the cost. I mean, you keep you up to date. And there are many advantage of using this technology. For IoT, according to, I think, Cisco report, they said by the end of the year, this year, the number of IT devices may reach up to 50 billion,
50 billion, yes.
devices.
Yes.
That means 7 times or 8 times of number of population,
Yes.
worldwide. Our project in company NFIC in Saudi Arabia will use IoT on the production line.
Production line, okay.
To send
Okay.
data in real time to the system and capture the data in real time to make analyzing how many product you produce,
So
if there is any
So it's like
problems or-
Industry 4.0 type of.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, very good.
So I'd like to take one step
Sure,
back
go
on
ahead,
that.
please,
So it's about, so we have, you mentioned about AI, IoT, and then there's blockchain, machine learning. There's ample
Yeah, there are technologies floating
technologies
around,
out there,
right? Yeah.
So what drives them, or our selection of these technologies is basically to meet a need or to add a value, right?
Yeah.
So in our group, we've identified some very interesting use cases. I'll name a few.
Sure.
So one use case was we have over 7,000 workers in our group, and one big challenge for us was their timesheet management.
Okay.
Which in majority of these cleaning, contracting, construction companies are paper-based.
Yep.
And there is ample effort that goes into every month to reconcile these sheets. So
With your financials.
we've toyed with ideas of having this to be AI-based. We used Amazon's facial recognition.
Okay.
We have model buses where the ins and out of every person as they go
Wow,
in and out
okay.
is logged. It's linked with geotagging and mapped with our projects.
Okay.
So we have managed to automate that entire procedure, giving us single source of truth and that level of accuracy where we know that this information is not manipulated.
Okay.
Another case study, what we had for IoT was we have some of these plants which are very old, which do
Okay.
not come with a SCADA system or which do not
Okay.
have the MES systems.
Okay.
So we've identified cases where we can use these industrial IoT devices on conveyor belts, on vibrations, on speed. So every time there is an anomaly or it's going beyond a certain threshold or range, it will create tickets in the system and inform the relevant maintenance department
Okay.
or production
Okay.
department.
Okay.
So this helps you to look into a more predictive maintenance approach
predictive
rather than
maintenance
just
models, yeah.
being a reactive approach.
Okay.
We've been playing around with some very interesting ideas we have yards.
Okay.
So we have yards where we are toying around with the idea of having drones
Okay.
to take periodic pictures or surveillance of yards
Interesting.
to identify variance in movement or
Okay.
to identify vehicles who are in zones where they're not supposed to be,
Okay.
or smoke detection.
Okay.
Yes, of course, there are niche systems for all of this.
Yes.
But these are using these platforms to add value and to give us faster reaction time.
Okay.
To
in
attend to
terms
those.
of implementation. So these are very interesting projects. So let's talk a little bit about. So the first one where you are, and I want to talk a little bit about the role of the cloud, right? So the AWS, you're using AWS, the Amazon services to do the face recognition. And so the advantage that you have there, or even for the drone, for example, now drones tend to be, they have their own platforms and you need to do a little bit of integration. So essentially, you are using the service, the pre-built services which are already there
Exactly.
on these cloud platforms to very quickly deploy these very interesting applications,
We
right?
don't want to reinvent the wheel, right?
Exactly,
So
yeah.
all of these platforms are giving you ample solutions which you
Solutions.
can play around and talk with each
And
other.
very quickly implement that.
We had a very interesting case as well. Now, again, like I said, we have so many workers in the group, and unfortunately, they don't have the capability or the capacity to deal with self-services
Okay.
and solutions like that. So we've toyed around with the idea of using Alexa.
Okay,
Alexa's
sure.
got a brilliant language
Interface.
translation
Yes, yes, it does.
facility.
Yes, it does,
So
yeah.
we've been able to have people send out SMSs in their local language,
Okay.
their own language,
Okay.
querying to an HR system, what is my leave balances? Can I apply? Can I,
Interesting. Wow.
So all of these are very interesting.
But it's very
proof of
fairly easy to
concepts.
integrate because you just write a service for the Alexa
Once
and
it's-
off you go.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Very interesting.
If you allow me, Mr.
Yeah,
Imran,
please go
just add some points here. You see, when we say also regarding to AI,
Yes.
AI, most of us know that it is separate, tool.
Yes.
No, AI as a tool of digital transformation is embedded with other tools,
Okay.
like data analytics. Data analytics tool has its embedded AI
Yes.
and also cloud.
Yes.
It has its embedded AI. For example, this practical example, we have security add-ons
Okay.
from Microsoft on cloud solution, and when we configure these tools, I know one guy. Yesterday he is in the office, and the next day he was absent.
Okay.
When I was monitoring the security dashboard, the system tell me, please take care. This guy yesterday signed from Dubai, today he signed from Kenya.
Kenya.
How you know that? And when this guy came back, I told him, you traveled to Kenya, isn't it? He said, yes. How you know? I told him, the system told me.
This is simple.
This is AI.
Yeah.
And also, now the modern cabinets of servers comes also with IoT. Now I am talking about IoT
IoT,
features.
yes. Okay.
You see, as admin, you can configure this rack and let her to alert you about any abnormal
Abnormal action.
If the temperature increase on the highest level,
Okay.
it will send you SMS.
Okay.
Anybody come to open the rack, also it send you SMS or call you sometimes also.
Okay.
This is feature also of AI embedded in IoT
In
and
IoT.
other tools. But these tools are talk to each other integrated.
I just wanted to touch base
Sure,
on
go ahead,
one
please. Yes.
small point. I mentioned
Yeah.
about using the facial recognition,
Yes,
right?
yes.
That was to address the specific issue of timesheet management.
Yes, timesheet management.
Now, because of Amazon offering their recognition tool, it comes with a very interesting roadmap. Now, because apparently they have with the same tool expression management.
Yes.
So if I wanted to build, now since I'm capturing the faces, since I'm building all of this
Yeah, you
data,
can
and I
capture
have-
the emotions. Yeah.
I can actually find out how many employees are disgruntled.
Yes,
Or who's
yes,
sad.
yes,
Or set an
yeah.
alert for somebody who's disgruntled more than 80% of his.
Absolutely.
We haven't done this, but I'm telling you the potential to now start thinking beyond is there because of these cloud solutions and the offerings that's
Exactly,
that's
and the main point is that because the services are already there, and this is not your domain, they keep improving the services.
Yes.
You're simply using the service on the cloud. Same with Alexa, and they keep improving them, obviously, right? So let me just switch gears again, and let's talk about implementation a little bit, right? So there are sort of two strategies that we could follow again, right? So one strategy would be you outsource it. You go to an external vendor and say, please come in and go ahead and do our implementation. And you can have a mix also, but the other strategy could be, you know what, we're going to do it in-house. Okay. So we'll start with Salahuddin. So which strategy did you follow, or is it a combination of both when you started implementing your digital transformation?
If you allow me to share our experience,
Sure.
When we move and we take a decision to implement SAP, we didn't have, our team didn't have
The
any
expertise.
experience
Yes.
about this solution.
Okay.
Because our culture at that time was Oracle,
Okay.
Oracle in-house developed
Okay.
system. But we select implementer from
Okay.
India,
Okay.
Tata company, if you
Okay.
know. And they was the implementer, and we make knowledge transfer from Tata team to HSA team.
Okay.
Now we are depending on our team.
You're on your team, okay.
Yeah.
So
But I
was the knowledge transfer part of the project, or it just happened? I'm just curious.
No, you see,
Okay.
we designed for the implementation project, we
Okay.
design a special office,
Okay.
and we keep, for example, SD consultant,
Okay.
sit together with
They
SD
have, so by
from
contract,
HSIT,
yeah,
yes,
okay.
face to face.
Yeah, so it's,
And by the time they are exchange
Okay,
experience,
okay.
share knowledge
Okay.
together, by this way, now our team, we are like-
you're doing it internally, and that's
Yes,
my point. Okay.
yeah.
And how about you? Okay.
Yeah. I believe there is no right and wrong approach
Yeah, I know. I'm
to
just
this.
curious what your experience.
But when it comes to a very diversified group, because usually when it comes to implementation partners, they are identified by their niche area or their
right,
niche solutions,
right,
and there will always be those niche areas which probably on a group level you want to target and segment them, and you probably will avoid
Yep.
those kind of niche areas. But when it comes to diverse group with very different sort of organizations in the portfolio, and you're having teams that need to build up capability, and you know that you're going to be investing heavily into that, I would always recommend that you build some sort of an in-house skill set. You may start off your journey to align through a vendor and a partner, but
Okay.
eventually you know that you're going to build up the skill set, because every organization or every entity within such a diversified group may be lean.
Okay.
It's big as a group,
Yeah.
but every individual organization, if you want
Is
to look at
different.
it, is
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
So to cater to those needs of the organization, to entertain their requests, I believe it is essential that some level of skill set needs to be built in-house.
So in your case, so you have a similar journey. So you probably started with first outsourcing,
Yeah.
going to vendors who had expertise, but because you have a diverse set of industries, it's more efficient for you to develop in-house skills because of the domain knowledge, right? Because the domain
Correct.
knowledge is so diverse that you will not find a single company.
Yes, so
that
we
has-
have to cater to all of the audience in commonality processes, we have the skill set in-house.
Okay.
And there are the niche solutions. Like for example, when I talk about, you mentioned financial consolidation,
Financial.
planning and budget. These are very niche
Okay.
on a high level or on a group level.
Okay.
For those kind of solutions, we do engage with
Okay.
partners, and
Okay.
it's too early in our journey to develop those skill sets. But what's catering to the majority of the masses within the group,
Okay.
we have those skill sets.
Okay, so while we're on the topic, could you talk a little bit about the organizational structure a little bit of that's actually managing this whole transformation? In other words, if you get a broad sense of, who's responsible, who they are reporting to, what kind of a governance structure is there?
Sure.
that
So
work
for us,
you?
in terms
You
of
can ask.
governance, we have our sponsor, who's our CEO.
Okay, CEO.
And within and the next layer is what we call as our the steering committee layer, which
Okay.
is a combination of the CFO, the CEO, the CIO, and we also have advisory board representations from SAP and from
Okay.
other parties.
Okay.
We do have quality partners in that front.
Okay.
Then the next layer is actually the design authority.
Okay.
The design authority is a representation from HQ who is looking into every departmental process oversee, and they have a vote. because
Okay, so they are looking more from the business process perspective,
Exactly.
right? So they want to make sure that the business processes adhere to certain corporate, whatever
so there is an agenda
guidelines
of
are.
standardization, right?
Standardization.
You're rolling out such a
Okay.
solution, you would
Okay.
want to standardize on as many avenues as
Yeah.
possible.
So you have sort of the IT standardization committee in a way. I'm just making
Exactly.
it generic, and then you have the business standardization committee, and both those inputs go into
Correct.
any decision.
Correct.
Okay.
And where there is disagreements, that's when the design authority come into
Okay.
place and put in
okay.
a vote to
Okay.
Then we have the implementation team, and then of course the change management board.
Okay.
We have a change management per company,
Okay.
team per company,
okay.
and we address, and it all follows through this cycle.
Okay. And before we move on to Mr. Salahuddin, so what exactly is the role of the CIO or CTO in this whole picture, that, the whole governance picture?
So there is a heavy accountability
Okay.
factor for such an initiative,
Yeah.
and generally the talk of the town is 80% of ERPs fail, right? This is
Yes,
you go
we know
you go
that,
every
we know
year.
that, yes, yeah.
So there is a huge accountability factor on the CIO role to
Okay.
ensure that this balance
Is maintained.
is maintained. And
Okay.
like I told, it is not an IT initiative.
Yes.
It is a business initiative. But he being the mediator per se, he being ensuring the balance between what's being delivered, what's the cost, what's the bill,
Yes.
what's the timeline, and ensuring all of that is.
So I guess the reason I'm saying that is, even though there is this governance structure in place, in the end, CIO is primarily, he's held responsible, right? They need to make sure that the balance takes place and eventually leads to the implementation, which will result in hopefully a successful project. So, Mr. Sal, what do you think?
Yeah, from our experience, we started to create IT shared service.
Okay.
And this helped us to success in our implementation project.
Okay.
The structure as a higher level CEO,
Okay.
under him CIO,
Okay.
with different department in IT, security system,
Okay.
development system,
Okay.
team, consultant,
Okay.
and also at the lower help desk or support.
Okay.
But the most important here, IT should work together with business.
Yeah. Okay.
Because otherwise, in business they will go this way, IT they will go this way, and the
Yes.
end,
Things will fall apart.
all project will be failed.
Okay.
Should be alignment between
Okay.
technology vision and business vision to reach the
But
same
in
point.
your case as well, I mean, CIO bears the responsibility at the end of the
Yeah.
day, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
and then regardless. So moving along, so one of the things that becomes important is, right? So at the end of the day, how do you measure success, right? Is it NPV? Is it, ROI? So how do you actually justify back to your board that, we spent all this money, and yeah, I can see you fancy reports, but what is worth it, right? So how do you guys measure success?
So I think our time is coming to a
Yeah,
close, but
yeah, we can quickly, yeah.
metrics is everything, right? So you need to be able to measure any initiative, especially per se on IT initiatives.
Yep.
Identifying these metrics is one of the challenges.
Okay.
So yes, you have the project level metrics on how did you do the project within your timeline, within your budget. But I'm focusing more on the business level metrics. What we did was we conducted an exercise of identifying each and every process, each and every department is dependent on the system.
Okay.
And this was done prior to the start of the project. And we are actually in our position today are able to measure of how much percentage of automation have we achieved.
Okay.
How many systems have we been able to
Transfer
shelve,
over. Okay.
to transform over? What is the time-based improvement per process?
Okay.
So these are the metrics which drive these initiatives and which help us to go back and justify like I said, this is a journey.
Yeah, so
before you know
so,
the next project is going
yeah,
to start.
so
right?
we're out of time, but I will give Mr. Salahuddin an opportunity, then we'll stop. So basically what we're saying is that there are financial and non-financial metrics, right? It's not just about financial, but metrics have to be there and they have to be reported. So Mr. Salahuddin, you have the last word, and
Yes,
then
actually, we measure our digital transformation journey by creating KPI,
Okay.
digital transformation adoption.
Okay.
And by monitoring these KPIs with high level and low
And
level,
what is
we can measure, do we reach to the target or still we are behind?
How far you are. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our time's up, long time ago. Appreciate you guys listening.
When you mentioned the 30 definitions of digital transformation, and it is all about the ongoing process, like you say, isn't it? It is all about the journey, and purpose and vision is really key, like you said. So if there is anybody that has any questions at all, please just raise your hands. We've got a couple of microphones that we're going to go around the room with. So any questions? Okay.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for the great session. We had a lot of learning and insights from all of you. I'm Musaddiq. I come from Agile Retail, where we do omnichannel for Carrefour, and we lead the transformation there. I have a question to, I'm sorry if I remember your name correctly, Mr. Gigi, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So as a part of Lulu Group, you said you agree that transformation is more like a journey, but you still need to have a reference where you want to be, right? The destination. It's not a destination, but a reference.
I'm not able to, could you, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So you said you agree that transformation is more like a journey, but you still need it's not a destination, but you still need a reference where you want to be. What do you want to achieve? Like a 5-year roadmap, a moonshot, whatever, right? So what do you see in terms of Lulu Group? What is the reference when you say that you're there? What do you see that roadmap as, or what do you see the destination as? How do you know that you've achieved what you want to achieve? And do you see any major challenges reaching there?
Okay.
Thanks.
So, first of all, I'm from Ittihad International Investments. I believe our Lulu counterpart has not
Yes,
joined today.
they're not here.
But to answer your question, we conducted an exercise prior to the start of this journey, which is identifying for every entity what is the value, tangible or in terms of financial, that we want to achieve. This was a 3-day exercise. We conducted this exercise, like for HR, they wanted to lower or streamline their labor costs by 10%. In terms of manufacturing, they wanted to improve their productivity by 5%. Or increase their operational efficiency. This was identified, and we used that as a benchmark, so that at least when we are done, we are aiming to achieve those benchmarks to claim that, okay, we have done a milestone. By then, I'm sure, because this is a long journey, I've been at it in our group for almost 3.5 years now, and we see another year plus. By the time we are done with that, you're going to have a laundry list of improvements which the business would have probably identified, or you have new acquisitions coming down the lane, or just when I was there, I got a message from my CEO stating that we are starting a new line of business for an existing entity. So this is always going to happen. But I believe it's knowing what you want to achieve and ensuring that you have achieved that, and you're showcasing it to the business. Showcasing the wins to the business is essential. You get buy-in for the value.
If you allow me, Mr. Gigi, I will add a point here. You see, when we say digital transformation is journey, it doesn't mean that it is open without endless. Yes, it will continue with the organization till the end, but when you build the roadmap of digital transformation, you should translate this roadmap into projects. The projects here should have a start point and end point for each project. Our strategy of digital transformation, when we convert it to projects, we reach up to 96 projects across all the group. And these projects should have start point and end point.
So just one single comment. So I think what I hear here is that, rather than having, because the things are changing so fast, right? So probably not a bad idea to have an agile portfolio management approach. So, you go year by year saying, okay, this is what's going to happen. These are all the things in our portfolio. Which one are you going to focus on, right? And that keeps changing depending on your quarterly or yearly or, whatever, every 3 years.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Yes, hi, thank you guys. I'm Yusuf, Director Delivery Excellence from Majd Al-Futtaim, also for transformation. I'm never ashamed of exposing and telling people how I failed, how the team failed, etc. And I would like to know what were your biggest failures in terms of the digital transformation. I think that might be an interesting question.
What are the biggest challenges or
right.
Failure.
Failures.
we
Yes.
call them challenges? Yeah.
So, it's in my experience, most of these times the failures is caused due to some effect of change management. Failures, you would have failures where business says that the solution didn't meet my expectation. You would have failures which says that, oh, this is not what I had in mind. Or you would have challenges when you have spun off your project and it is going to go beyond a certain timeline and a cost. So what I would recommend to address those, one is to ensure that you have your connect with your senior management and ensure that you have these steering committee cycles on a monthly basis without fail. There is nothing wrong in reporting what is ground reality. And addressing those issues as it is identified through this governance framework and tackling it ahead on rather than waiting for it to blow up at a later stage of the project.
And also, according to some reports, 70% of digital transformation initiatives also failed. Because of what? Any organization have three main pillars: technology, people, and process. If digital transformation strategy not cover these three pillars in balanced way, especially on people, it will fail. But you should focus in these three areas in balanced way.
Okay, thank you. We don't have any more time for any more questions, unfortunately, but please, could we put our hands together for our panel here, our first panel discussion. Imran, Zualkernan, Gigi Thomas, Pia Shawan, Salahuddin, Almohammadi.